into men's sex
Did you just say men's sex?
accessories. I couldn't. It wouldn't come out. Accessories wouldn't come out.
Well,
I pulled a crystal.
Yeah.
I pulled a crystal.
And there's our one of our teasers for the week.
And welcome back to the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
Hey,
how's it going?
Good.
We're almost there.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not ready.
Huh? You're not ready?
Not even a little bit.
Well, let's see if our guest is ready. So
I'm sure she is.
Today on the show we have Tabitha with Laser Llama. How's
it
going?
Friend.
Hi, good.
Are you ready for the conference?
Of course.
She's super like on top of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not. But so we usually talk about how we met our guest first. And so I knew her like from the groups, but we didn't really like talk much like personally, I guess, or on the side or anything. It was really just like in the groups that we would talk like here and there. And then at the conference last year in August is when I really got to know her well, because she was there and she was kind of like just helping with miscellaneous things. And I remember in my first silhouette class, I was so nervous, like anxious, like my anxiety was like through the roof, and like she could see it. And then also, and the setup wasn't working. I think like we needed a cord, or you know, there's a whole lot going on. And I'm like, just like, she probably saw the pure like panic on my face, and she's like, I got the cord, and she like ran off and she got the cord for me, and I didn't have to worry about that. And then like I think I probably told her like how anxious and nervous I was. And she was like, just look at me. Anytime you're nervous, just look at me. And so anytime I did get nervous or like fumbled like in the class, I would just look at her and she'd just be like there, like a smiling, gentle face to like calm me down. And like ever since then, I'm like, yep, you're my people. Cause like she really like saved me in that moment, because it was a lot. And that one was half the size of this one. Yeah. So I don't know like how full the classes are, but I have many more classes than I did last time. Oh yeah. Yeah. I told her, I'm like, you're just gonna have to come to every single silhouette class, because I need you to be you're good.
Sit right in the front row again.
Right. It really did help me though. So thank you again for that. Cause like, you know, just in those moments, it's like, you know, something technology isn't working and you feel like however many like pairs of eyes are like staring at you, like waiting for you to like get this going and fixed and look like you have it all together, when that's far from reality, at least in my world. So thank you again for that. And I'm excited to see you in a week.
Yes. Can't wait for that.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects, and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So, what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser-ready blanks.
Speaking of all things laser, check out Houston Acrylic at houstonacrylic.com for reliable laser-tested and laser-approved materials.
Made for makers by makers, Houston Acrylic features over 450 styles of acrylic sheets. With over 50 new arrivals being released this month, Houston Acrylic is committed to bringing new and innovative styles to the laser community. My personal favorite is the matte. Anything matte. And I feel it's perfect for everything.
Don't forget to save 10% by using our exclusive coupon code TRBP10 at checkout. Get inspired today and visit houstonacrylic.com.
Do it. So what is your role going to be for this next conference? Kind of similar thing, or?
Pretty much, yeah. Mark gave me a very fancy title, Chief of Staff. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm their right hand. I'll run around, do whatever they need to do, and then when they're teaching classes, and then all the presenters need things done, then I'll be available to all of you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you're the perfect woman for the job, because that's exactly what you did for me, and very well last year. So,
Well, if you need any help this year to help you in your role,
yeah,
feel free to reach out to me. I'll be running around. I'll be the guy with the camera running around.
yeah, getting cords in between getting shots.
Yeah.
So, how did Laser Llama come about? Like, what was your background before laser, and then how did you find it? All that stuff.
So I've always tried to find my niche, and I've started out by going to massage school, and I did that for 10 years. I did cake decorating. Same time I was doing that. So I always wanted to do something creative. Then I had a silhouette cameo and got into the vinyl world, as most of us had our start.
Right.
And then the Glow Forge kept popping up on, everything on Facebook. And
right.
and after staring at that for about a year, going, wow, that's really cool. Like, I want to cut chocolate, and
Right.
put it in the middle of my kitchen as they advertise, which now we know is not a thing.
With no venting. Or
No
the venting
venting.
not strategically not shown. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I was also a surrogate, and I had a little bit of money set aside from surrogacy. And I said, you know what? This is the time where I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to go ahead and get that laser I wanted. Still had to convince my husband, because he said, that's a lot of money and you don't even understand what it can do. I'm like, well, sometimes you don't know what it can do until you jump in. And I think that you had a similar start with that. Like, I don't know, it looks cool. Let's just try it out and see what happens.
Right.
And next thing I know, I've got 2 Glow Forges and an OhmTech, and I have a fiber laser on the way, and a Mira 7 on the way. So
yay.
Wow.
You're going to be a laser hoarder like Kathy and Will.
Yeah. No, I don't want to compete with Will.
Yeah, no. There's too many.
I don't have space. I don't have a warehouse.
Right.
Yet.
Yeah.
You don't have it yet.
Yeah, if you want one, you can get one. Oh, there's a cat in the background. Yeah. Is that what fell or jumped down earlier?
What's that?
I said, is that what fell or jumped down earlier?
Yes. They hear your voice. They're trying to figure out what's happening. So all 3 of them are in here right now, which never happens.
What's going on?
Right.
She's by herself, but we hear other voices.
Right. And so what were you always kind of doing, like, I guess, the entrepreneurship for a while though, right? Before laser stuff.
Yeah. Especially with having kids. I never could figure out, how do you have a job if you want to be home with your kids?
Right.
Especially when they're in school. Do you quit your job for the whole summer, or what happens like when your job's depending on you and you have to leave for a sick day?
Right.
So this is what we figured out would work best, is if I work for myself.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's been many times where me working for myself so something will happen at school where they need to get out earlier, or they have a day off, or those kind of things. And although my job before, my corporate job before laser stuff, it did allow for that. It was pretty flexible. I had plenty of paid time off, the holidays off and that kind of stuff. And I didn't really have an issue with needing to be home, or, being able to be home when JR was little. But there's been many times at this school where it's like, you plan on picking up, we pay for the aftercare so that we have like a couple more hours. And there's times where like, they're like, surprise, something's going on with the water. We need you to pick up your kids like right at 3:00. And it's like, well, thank God I can. Cause like what do these other parents do when it's like, if you're a single parent, or or you both work in jobs where you can't get off any earlier than, what you get off. And I can imagine that it would be extremely difficult for a lot of people with just, I guess, regular jobs.
Yeah.
So the flexibility is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's my favorite part. And it's why we kind of want you to eventually do it too, because, even me having the flexibility, we're still very stuck with him not having that flexibility in his hours. Like the recording time has to go around his days off,
Right.
and there's only so much time,
Right.
to do
Yeah,
things.
to do things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do things around the
Mhm.
house or anything.
Yeah.
Anything that needs to be done.
Hmm. And so I haven't coughed in like 2 days.
Yeah.
But here it is. So you said you found your niche, and your niche is right here.
Right here. It's right here. Right here.
Yes.
Awesome hats.
So talk about, I guess, a little bit how you found it. Like what, did you, when you bought a laser, what did you think you were going to make? Did you think you were going to make hats? Kind of how did that evolve?
So originally, because I had to convince my husband that I would use it,
Yeah.
I sat down and made a business plan, and I really wanted to gear it towards men's accessories.
Mhm.
And what I did not want to do was jewelry and signs. And where the money was jewelry and signs. And that's where
Right.
all of my requests came from in the beginning. So I definitely went that route for about a year and a half before I was able to bring it back around and start making the wooden bow ties, which were really popular.
Love those.
And yeah, I just started working more into my original idea with making the accessories.
Mhm.
And about 2 years ago now, I just wanted to make my husband a hat for his workout group. And he was really involved with that. And they had like really cool logos. So I said, yeah, I'll try something. And I wish I had a picture to show you how bad that hat was, because I was so proud of that at the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was my first one. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, that's garbage. No wonder he won't
Right. Yeah.
So, but I was also trying to put a very odd shape on a rectangle patch. So that's why we started going with the leatherette, where I could add my own adhesive to it, and I
Right.
could cut out the shape that I wanted, so we can have everything, not
Right.
stuck to a certain shape. And
Yeah.
so we started doing that for his workout group, and they're actually a national group, so we were just doing it for the local region.
Mhm.
And then we were able to get a contract with Mud Gear, who handles all of their gear. So now we do hats for the whole nation for those. And then we one of the guys that's in the workout group is also in the FBI. And so
Oh,
he
wow.
helped us get a contract with the FBI.
Oh.
That's so cool.
And yeah, that's probably my biggest flex is the FBI. But
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
we
That's
for
pretty-
sure.
local schools. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the Riley Black Project, of course, and Riley Black
Right.
Media.
That's probably my
mean,
number one
That's a
flex.
pretty big flex too.
Right.
I mean,
And
I knew
Riley
it.
Black Media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I knew immediately who to reach out when we wanted hats. It's like, and one thing I love about the laser community too is that you can do so many things. And one drawback about doing so many things is you may not necessarily do every single one of those things extremely well. Kind of like you said, your first hat kind of sucked. I love the thought of making hats, but to really do them well, you got to spend like a lot more money, like have a good hat press and, learn a good adhesive and learn the good a good process and all of that. And I wasn't interested in doing all of that, at least not immediately. And so I was like, let me reach out to someone who's already perfected their process and have them make them for us, even though technically I could,
Right.
I wanted them to be done and done well, and also outsource where I can. I don't have time to add all of that on top of there as well. But then I also get to support, another maker while having merch, for our brand. So, and then I also want to tie back to where you said that, initially you wanted to do men's stuff, but that the money was in the jewelry and signs, and how doing that initially, even just temporarily, helped you get to the point where you still got to your goal, but you kind of had to like do a couple steps in order to get there, to have that freedom.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments in my business was when I got to the point where I didn't feel like I had to take every job, where I could say, "Ooh, no, that's not really kind of, that's not what I do." or, you know, doesn't like fall in line with the things that I like to do or that I do well. Having that freedom to say no, like, you know, you like, oh no, I do mostly, you know, men's. So like if someone reaches out to you now and they want like jewelry or a sign, do you typically turn down those jobs?
I do. I did a really awesome sign just this week, but that was for a customer that I knew was very easy, and I've done a sign for him in the past. So
Right. But yeah,
I'll
there's
take
always
the
some
risky, but
exceptions here and there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Also,
Yeah.
like I need to be inspired by it, you know, like if you're
Yes.
gonna come to me with an idea and I'm like, that sounds like it's going to be really ugly. Let me tell you who might actually like that job. And so I'll give them a referral. But if it doesn't fit with my
Right.
brand and my style, then I'm
Yeah.
gonna procrastinate on it. I'm going to make little mistakes. I'm not gonna love it. So
Right.
yeah.
And then those are the ones that you procrastinate on and that, you know, it doesn't exactly turn out how you like, or there's definitely been some signs where I've never posted because they chose some very interesting colors and elements. And I'm like, I'll make that, but I'm not going to share it with the world because it's not it just doesn't fall in line with, you know, my brand and like projects that I'm proud of and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I love that when, you know, usually a couple years in, you can get to the point where it's like, I'm not going to take it unless it like is exciting or, you know, shows me something new that I want to learn. Or like one of those recently was that the crawfish boil milestone.
Right. Yeah.
She initially reached out to me and she's like, oh, you know, I want a custom milestone set. And I'm like, nah, I'm too busy. And, you know, she really had to almost kind of like beg me to even like entertain it. And then when she told me what she wanted, and I immediately started having ideas of like what I could do for it. And I was like, okay, you got me. That's kind of fun.
Right.
You know, thought of like, oh, we could do the crawfish and we could do the potato and the garlic, and like the little pot was like what everything sat on, and like my mind just started like going crazy. And so those are the ones that like, you know, typically maybe I wouldn't have taken because I was busy or had a lot going on. And she was fine with it taking several. I literally took her whole pregnancy. I think I barely got it
Well,
to
good
her
thing you didn't take the whole
in time.
child's first year.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying your procrastination could have went.
That's true.
You know, could have been 5 months.
It's very easy.
And then she got her milestone. Like, well, now what am I gonna do with it?
Yeah, I mean, well, like Jasmine, I think my sign literally broke her laser creativity. My sign was like, that's the last thing she's done as far as like laser stuff. And Jackson's about to be 2 years old, and we never got a sign. I love you, Jasmine, but I do wish I had a Jasmine sign for my nursery. But it's okay. I can relate to that because I know how that goes, and I know her mind wasn't in it. You can't force that. Yeah. And then she had like a tragic thing in her family, and yeah. So anyway, how do we shift from that?
You took it there. I mean,
where my brain goes. I can't help it.
branding is important because even the milestones, your brand is becoming food related milestones.
Yeah. And it is kind of, I'm okay with that because it's kind of fun.
Right.
But the part I'm struggling with is that, so at least as far as my brand, I kind of have to be very selective about those for one, because they're almost too niche, because the file, and so I'm a file seller, but the file, it's expensive and it's advanced, because like someone who buys the milestone, the crawfish boil milestone, they need like, I don't even know, like 8 different colors of acrylic, or needs to paint like 8, you know what I mean? So it's like, they're not quick and easy projects, or, you know, whatever. And I make it as easy as possible, and then when they're selling them, they need to sell them for 100 to 150 plus, you know, so it's also a very niche like customer on the other end too. And so, and I usually like, I make them once and I don't want to make them again. I don't really want to make another like crawfish boil milestone. I made it. It was cool. You know, I don't want to like mass produce them. And again, they would be very expensive in order to make it worth, the time and materials. So I kind of like have to take like maybe a couple a year that are like really cool
Right.
and just do them to like get it out of my system and, be creative and stuff. But as far as like a business model, it might be tough to actually like, not that it's
Right.
not possible, because if I really focused on it, I could potentially find that market and those customers. But yeah, right now I don't have it. So now it's just cool and like just to show it off in the group, like, look what I created. You're probably never going to buy the file. And if you buy the file, you might never make it or sell it, but they look cool.
Yeah.
Where were you going with
No, just because branding. So she
Yeah.
shifted from doing the signs and stuff into
Right.
men's sex
Did you just
Whoa.
say men's
Nope.
sex?
Nope.
accessories. I couldn't.
Sex-
It wouldn't come out. Accessories wouldn't come out.
Well,
I pulled a
there's-
crystal.
yeah.
I pulled a crystal.
And there's our one of our teasers for the week.
That's for the after dark.
So for the after dark, yeah.
Yeah.
So hats, bow tie. What other accessories are like big for you? Right now?
Yeah, that's really what we focus on. We've done the beard combs. I love the flip beard combs.
Which
But
one?
that's really
The flip?
they look like kind of like a switchblade
Oh,
look. So they
yeah.
like flip open. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those ones look really cool, but we don't sell too many of them.
I know that's always disappointing. I feel like one of the things I really like making, I mean, I also am not marketing them, but those, the rhinestone flasks, they have like the little rhinestone top. I love making those, but they don't sell like crazy, but when they do sell, it's kind of nice because they usually sell to like an event, like girls weekend or a bachelorette, or so you don't usually sell one. I mean, sometimes I sell one for like a birthday, but it's usually for some kind of like event. So then they have to kind of have like a budget for that kind of gift. So right now you're going through I guess a remodel, right, of your office.
Just finish it up. Yep.
So where is it at now?
So we did the flooring in here, so we got rid of all the nasty carpet, and then the walls were like white. So now we've got the black walls and the gray, and then we've got the same panels that you guys have there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks so much darker and I don't know, more professional now. Like I actually want to take photos in here.
Right. And so what are your goals as far as your business in like the next like year or so? Just getting more like bigger contracts or?
Yeah, I mean, I do like doing the one-off hats here and there, and we definitely do plenty of that. But the wholesale is really where my heart is. We do a lot of hat sales for schools, where we give a portion back to the school afterwards.
Nice.
So we don't have them worry about collecting all of the money. We have them just go through our website, which has been amazing because when they're already shopping on our website, then they're like, oh, well, what else does she make? And sometimes they'll add a few more things to their cart, or they'll say, oh, otherwise they wouldn't have seen us. And now they're going to get their Christmas presents with us. So we run everything through our website and then just give a check to the school with the hats at the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I've seen too around Christmas, you usually you offer like a short list of like things that you make outside of like your hats and like your normal stuff, right? How do you do that with the Christmas stuff? Which that's what I've wanted to do each year, and I haven't really I always wait too long, and then now it's too late to be like, oh, here's my Christmas offerings.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit more about how you do that, since most of the year you're doing, your niche stuff.
Yeah. So at Christmas, I know that people don't necessarily need more hats, and those orders are going to either come or they're not. So I try to really focus on the gifts. Come October, I've got my Christmas catalog out, and then I'll just have like a list of maybe 6 to 9 different ornaments that I'm going to do that year. I don't want to take the one-off crazy special custom orders. Yeah, so like these are the ones. Pick this. We can change the wording if you want to. So we call them semi-custom.
Okay.
And then I'll offer like chess sets and Moncala, and just different like games, and then maybe a couple of other little things that people,
Good gift giving.
yeah, like that they might not know about, or something I want to test out for the next year to see if I want to invest in that. Like I didn't know if the tumblers were going to sell, so I figured, well, let's
Right.
test them out at Christmas time, and if we sell a few, then we know that there's a market for that. So
Yeah.
that helps us that way too.
Yeah. Well, and so how did the tumblers do?
Much better than expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always good. And so have you guys added that to like your normal like rotation and items now?
Yes. Let's see if I can move over here. You can see.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got all the tumblers back there. So
Nice.
yeah,
And so is Christmas kind of also how you maybe test like a new item to see?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
I
idea.
test items there, and then I also do a couple consignments around town.
Mm,
So I'll just toss some random stuff down at the coffee shop and see how it does, and
yeah.
see if there's a market for that.
And it's almost never what you think. And even if it is what you think, there's some kind of twist to it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I'm always surprised. Like every time I'm like, this is gonna sell so well. It doesn't.
Flops.
It flops almost every time.
100%.
And then like, yeah, and then I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna sell at all. And it becomes your best seller.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, everyone who listens, for the most part, probably knows me and knows about me, but you may be surprised that my best-selling design on Etsy for the last couple years is a religious watch band design that I made for an old coworker.
Right.
I think it said God, I don't even know what it said. That's how bad it is. It's like she believed she could, or she prayed something about praying, and she prayed about it basically. And it's like has a cross on one side, and then like a little fancy little
Bestseller.
filigree bestseller. It sells probably at least almost every day, if not several times a day. And then you look at the rest of the items in my Etsy shop, and
Just
you're
sitting
like. So it's like, I also don't want to lean more into that, because those aren't the things that
Right.
that bring me joy.
Right.
You know, that's like the, I mean, sadly,
Those are the things you pray about. That's not what she prayed for.
No, the things that bring me joy are like that I posted in the last few days of my new Shafty boards and the new line of boards that are coming. But leaving it in there, and it's selling, so I'm not going to take it down.
Right.
But it's kind of like an unfortunate bestseller, because usually when you find that like that surprise bestseller, it's almost usually how you find your niche.
Mhm.
You lean into that a little bit more.
Right.
But if I leaned into that, it would be very ingenuine.
Praise
and I
the
don't
Lord.
think
Hallelujah.
Stop it. But yeah, so I feel like you find your niche accidentally, but for you, it actually kind of was on purpose, which is not typically how our guests have gone
Mhm.
in the past.
Right. They
It's
just kind of
usually-
find it as they go along.
Yeah, they go along,
had
they
a
try
plan.
something, someone wanted them to make something, and then it went crazy or went viral, or they
Right.
were surprised that they enjoyed making it. And a lot of people don't make business plans.
Well, she had a pitch. She had a pitch it to her husband.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're not making me do a business plan.
Yeah. I wouldn't even know how. I didn't want to sit through a presentation, a PowerPoint.
So had you done business plans like in the future? Did you have like experience doing so? Like how'd
you sell them?
Yeah.
Well, no, I actually had never done a business plan before. I had to look up how to write a business plan.
Yeah.
My husband was, I believe at that time he was going to school for his master's. Now he teaches at the college as a side hustle. So yes, business plans are very necessary. Even
Yeah.
with my 13-year-old daughter, when she wants to do something, we're like, write a plan, just put it in writing, because it will help you refocus. It'll help you come back to, why are you doing this?
Right.
What is your brand going to look like? And you can alter that as you go, but just having the foundation set really does keep you focused.
Yeah.
So yeah, I pretty much just talked about wanting to make men's accessories and where I was going to market to, and I actually have come back to that quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, and I think it helps you, like you said, it kind of gives you like a roadmap of, where you want to go. Of course, you can make like an unplanned turn here, unplanned turn there. And it doesn't mean that you have to stick to it 100%, but it makes you really think about like, okay, if this is what I want to do, before I even start doing it, I need to think about what things I need to do in order to make that happen. Like, yes,
Yeah.
where am I going to market it? Where am I going to, find these customers? What do I think are going to be, my first few products, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, you should probably do one with yours. It might help us be more focused in the Riley Black media side of things.
Yeah, I'll get to work on the homework.
Honestly,
She'll be expecting she can grade your business plan.
Don't need to be graded.
yeah, I'll just audit it for you. It's totally fine.
Yeah. No.
So
Honestly, at this point, it really helps because if I'm like, ooh, a new machine, like this is so cool, I want to get this. And my husband will go, how does that fit into what you're doing? Like, it doesn't, and he's like, but no, how does it fit into what you're doing? And like, oh, no, it's another distraction. So then I will save money that way too. So
that's actually what I was going to ask. With the fiber on the way and with it opening the possibilities more so than a CO2, what's the plan for the fiber?
Good question. So he's got his plans for it. He's going to do a lot of metal stuff, which I have no interest in, and it doesn't fit into my brand.
Yeah.
But how fast the fiber does engraving on the leatherette is going to cut my production time so much.
And so with that, because fibers don't really cut, right? For the most part, they're really just engravers.
They can cut.
Okay. And so would you still cut your leather? Would you engrave and cut your leatherette on there? Or would you kind of need to do that in like would it make more sense to do it in like 2 processes?
No, I mean, I'll have to play around with it and really see what the limitations are based on the wattage and whatnot. But right now, I do steer away from a lot of the leatherette blanks because of how long the glow forge will take for it.
Right.
But my 80 watt, even on the lowest power, is burning through these things.
Oh,
so yeah, I mean, and I could run it in the Mira when it gets here.
Yeah.
But knowing that the Mira could take, 30 seconds, whereas the fiber would take 7 for the same product, then just passing the blanks through, I don't know. It'll give me another tool to get things done faster.
And it may not work for every design and every patch.
Yeah.
But on certain patches, especially ones that are like, if you use any of the like, rectangle or circle or, those kind of things, it'll go through those really quickly. We want a fiber someday, but we should really, that's a situation where we'd have to like kind of have a plan of like the things we'd want to like choose and offer, because again, it's really easy to just go off the deep end and want to make all the things and not have any kind of plan or direction on where we'd want to take it.
So I'd want one just for myself. Like the reason we get it is for the business, and then I'm like, hey, can I borrow that on Saturday? Because I have some plan.
Just engrave all your guns on one
I
day.
didn't say what I was gonna do.
I know what you're gonna do.
So, but I just like, hey, can I have it on Saturday?
for the stippling that you've been eyeballing for.
Yep.
There's a whole market for that too.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we've talked about that too. We've looked into, how hard it is, like how you can get the FFL. So I'll never get that without.
It's not the airport.
Yeah.
It's not
FLL is the airport.
Right.
FFL. But just we've looked into how difficult it is, and it's not too terribly hard. You just have to make sure that you get your paperwork like done and complete and correct on like the first try. Otherwise, it's out. But that's another thing that I hope is in our Riley Black future.
Yeah, Riley Black Arms.
There's already a name for it.
I just brought it. I just
RBA?
came up with it. So we'll need new hats.
Eventually,
I know someone that can help you.
Yeah. And then also, and if it could, like, I mean, I don't want to like take the FBI's logo, but if it could look official,
just a little play on.
just something. I don't know. Get inspiration from it.
So what are you with the conference coming up next week? What are you most looking forward to at the conference?
Honestly, just seeing everybody. I think that the energy last time was so great.
It was awesome.
I know last time it was really focused on more of the Glowforge side. So opening that up, using Lightburn and having Eon there.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be really exciting. And there are presenters that weren't there last time that will be there this time. And
Yeah.
seeing familiar faces as well, like yours. And, just the community aspect of it is going to be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but I was really surprised how motivating it was for me as a presenter. I didn't expect that. I'm going to teach, to help, to help run it, and I didn't expect to leave like as motivated as we were trying to do with the people who were attending.
Right.
So that was something that was unexpected for me. So I'm excited to get that this time, because this 3 months of this year has not exactly gone as planned.
Yeah.
And I need all the motivation, you can do it, pep talks I can get.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like I'm going to give them to them as far as like silhouette, like you really can like tackle silhouette, but I need the other side of the business. You can do it. Like
Right.
pep talks and the rallying.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that, and excited to share it with you and show you a little bit more
I can't wait to have, because I kind of felt that energy from afar, and talking to you and texting back and forth while it was going on,
right,
and all the FOMO. But this
Right.
time, actually being there and talking to people, and it's gonna be, and everyone's there for the same. Everyone's there to learn and to grow.
Yeah,
and even the presenters are there to learn and to grow from their students or whoever's attending their portion of it. And it's just like-minded people all together, kind of uplifting each other. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing.
Well, now more so than ever before, you're actually like starting to be part of the community,
right? Because
before it was always just me like telling you like what the laser drama of the day was, and and that kind of stuff, and like your feed wasn't all laser stuff.
No, yeah, my Facebook is no longer my Facebook. It's part of the community. The only thing I have is my Instagram.
You haven't lost that yet?
I haven't lost that yet.
Hold on.
Although my Riley Black Media obviously is
right,
but my personal Instagram is still going to be my personal Instagram. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, that's Riley Black Media. Don't look for John Aguila.
You never really post anyway, unless it's about the boys.
Yeah, I don't. I'm a voyeur on Instagram. I just watch.
Yeah,
I sit back and watch.
Which is going to be a struggle for you as far as like Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and what that we've already seen. Like you kind of have to get out of that. I'm always like pushing you. I'm channeling my inner will, and saying you need to post. Post that. Did you post? Like getting you out there and make sure you're like. Did you post in the Saturday post and the Thursday post and all that stuff? Because
I'm busy creating posts for everybody else.
Yes, but
if you need someone to post.
Stop avoiding your own.
Right? Yep. See
what?
Stop avoiding your own.
Yeah, but I can't like post everybody else's on mine. So if I've made something for you, tag me.
There you
and then
go.
I'll share it.
Well, and she was one of your like first few clients, and that was cool because we did like a barter, for the hats, and we're gonna make her some awesome reels, and maybe use some YouTube tutorials too down the road. Which is, I mean, it's another like again, that's another like awesome positive about the laser industry is that we can do that. Like, okay, maybe you don't have the funds or you don't want to spend them that way,
right?
And you're like, hey, I can make you some awesome hats, and you can make me some awesome reels that instead of what your 13-year-old son was making them before.
Yeah, my daughter.
Your daughter, yeah. Well, and I love and then how she sent she sent like the name of like a new rapper, and I felt so old because I was like, wait, is that like is that his name?
Is
She's
that
like,
the
that's
song
his
or the
name.
name?
And I'm like,
Enough.
never heard of him.
You're like, wait, is that the whole name, or am I supposed to know what that means?
Right. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know who that is or what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's some advice that you'd have to a new or struggling laser owner? You know, it's okay if we've already mentioned it, but what would be like, what really sticks out to you for that?
So in the beginning, you're going to have an idea maybe of what you want to do. And I say, try everything because like we've talked about, you don't know what's going to work with your market. And to that, like, you don't necessarily know who your market is to start.
Right.
And I say, start local. Just jumping in an Etsy and wondering why you don't have any sales when you're not doing the Etsy marketing because you don't know what you're doing on that side of it.
Right.
Well, start locally. I mean, I have stuff in a coffee shop and a snowboard shop, and I'm just working around in my town. And then they get the word out, and then things just organically grow from there. So starting local and then being willing to try everything and take all of those custom orders in the beginning, not saying, no, that's not my brand.
Right.
Well, your brand is undefined until it defines itself for you.
Right.
And then once you find your niche, then stick with it. Then turn down the orders or, you know, find people refer out to the things that maybe you don't like.
Right.
Like I found that I didn't like hand painting. I know Julie's going to hate that.
Right. I know. I feel so bad for Julie every time I'm like, oh, painting sucks. But you know, it's like, but again, finding, those people leaning into the things that you like and finding the people, if it isn't something that you like, find that person who does like that and send them their way.
Exactly. And then like locally, I found somebody who loved hand painting. So I would refer those items to her. And she hated doing earrings, which I was already in the groove of doing.
Right.
So I just said, then send them my way. And it worked out pretty much, you know, for the best.
Yeah. I mean, I did that actually recently. I had one of my old coworkers from my corporate life reach out, and he was like, oh, I know you have a laser. I see you're doing well. You know, he now does some like sign stuff on the side for his stuff. And he was cutting these logos out by hand on the scroll saw. And he wanted to see, you know, how much it would cost for them to be cut on the laser. And it's actually kind of funny because we had like a mix up of the terms. He asked if he could have them etched out for him. Well, etching to us is engraving. Right. And so I'm giving him a quote on engraving a 7x3 inch logo, which is pretty big. And, you know, I was like, well, it was like 8.5 minutes just to engrave and cut one of them. And he wanted 50. And I'm like, that's $400 just in like laser time, not even like how much in materials. Right. And then and he was like, oh no, that's way outside of my budget. And I was like, wait. And I had like a moment. I was like, wait, are we talking about like the same thing? Because etching to us is engraving. What's if you just want he wanted them cut. Oh, okay. He wanted them cut out. Okay. Because to save him the time, because I remembered him saying to save him the time when he goes to paint them, and he was cutting them by hand. I'm like, well, cutting a rectangle on, you know, a scroll saw, that's not going to take you very long. And I was like, I just remember, I read back like what he initially asked, and I was like, he may actually be asking about cutting and not engraving. Right. And I did mention, you know, engraving it would take so much time, and he didn't notice that. I think he just saw the $400
right. Was like,
price and was like, I'm out. And then it turns out he just needed them cut. And initially I was going to do it for him, even though I don't do wood anymore. Unless it's the shafty boards that I have like made for me. But, you know, he wanted 1/4 inch wood, and initially I was going to take it on. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, I probably don't have enough wood on hand to do it. I'm going to hate my life the whole time I'm doing it. Every time I do wood afterwards, I'm like, oh, I hate how it smells because I'm so used to the acrylic smell now. Yeah. But anyway, I ended up outsourcing it to Emily. And so Emily's going to do them for him and get them all set up. And, because again, I wanted to like help a coworker and I was
Right.
like, oh, I'll do wood for you. And then the
Right.
more I thought about it, I was like, no, that just doesn't fit. The
Right.
wood that I do have is buried. I'd have to like
Right.
dig it out, hope that it's still like good to use and all of that. But outsourcing it to her. And then another thing on the Etsy side, where you mentioned, people often go to Etsy, they'll put up 1 or 2 listings, not get a sale, in the first week or 2, and they're ready to give up. And Emily has been, starting a new shop, a brand new shop. And
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm so proud of her. I'm just kidding. But she said it took 29 listings for her to finally get one that took off.
Yeah.
And she just kept regularly adding new listings,
Yeah.
working on a new product, waiting for, that one. Yep. And the algorithm likes consistency.
Yeah.
And so regularly posting and being that squeaky wheel of, oh, what does she have new? What does she have next? And a lot of those people are watching each of those 29. And then finally that 29th listing or the 30th listing, they're like, ooh, I really like that. But they've probably already been considering ordering, but that's the one that really got them to order.
Or maybe they haven't been, but it's come up in their feed and they've been not purposely following, but following.
Right.
And when they say like, oh, this person, I've seen this company post in the past.
I've seen this before. Right.
So it's like it almost creates a not a brand loyalty, but a familiarity with the brand. So when they see something that they like, they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to order for them because I do see them. I do see other products and other people order from them.
Yep.
So I'm going to join in and on this one piece.
Well, and I mean, it happens to us all the time. With
all the
like,
time.
There'll be, something, and some ad will show up in our Instagram 15 times.
Right.
And then on that 15th time,
I'm going to click buy.
Exactly. You got to be consistent.
That's what we do with the podcast. Hopefully it keeps coming up. And then finally you're like, all right, I'm click subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed now.
Nice shoe in. We forgot to mention at the beginning, our sponsors who still haven't given us an ad so that we can give them a formal shout out.
Yeah. Who's left?
Lens Digital
and Eon.
Yeah. I need to send that email to my friend Heather that works for both of them now and tell them to get on there.
And you're right. We should have said it at the beginning because she only listens to the beginning.
Yeah. I think she fast forwards to
not because we added it to the end. Yeah. Sorry, she's in Florida now, so we'll just drive up there and knock on her door.
And just start playing
and
it
like,
outside
hey, what's going on? Yeah.
All right, Tabitha. Well, it was really, really fun to have you on.
Yep.
I'm excited to see you next week. You get to meet her for real
in
next
person.
Week.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. It'll be great. And actually, we say next week, but you know me. We've just met at the time of this
officially, yes,
airing because we're there now.
But the listener spoke.
Yeah.
So if you listened last week, we had a little, or maybe 2 weeks ago.
We always have this.
We have a little tiff. He always wants me to speak in the term, it's future sense.
Yeah.
Of when this is going to air.
Because we recorded a week.
And I can't. It's not possible. My brain can't math it. Yeah. And a listener reached out and she said that I don't have to because they know.
That's just one listener.
It's all that matters.
Well, no, it's kind of your guys' thing to fight about it, right? So
of course, yeah.
Just keep it as is.
We have to fight about something.
Right.
All healthy relationships fight, so we got to fight about something.
I've watched some of the teasers and some of the episodes. Like we don't fight in our relationship. Like we bicker. But even then, most of the bickering that happens on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just when we choose to air our grievances.
I guess. Perfect. We do it for the people.
Oh, one question before you go. I kept forgetting to ask this during. You had mentioned that your husband has a plan for the fiber. How does he fit into the laser business? Does he kind of jump in when you need help? Does he actually have a role within your business? How does that work? She's
the laser to the llama.
He is the beard behind the brand. Yeah. So early on when we were having a hard time sourcing hats and we would have to order 9 months in advance because of all the
Right.
delays, he was my project manager and he was forecasting how many we were going through. And
Oh,
he actually got me down to like 6 hats before my next one came in. So we never actually ran out when nobody could find Richardson hats.
Right.
And
Were
then
you the one that had your Richardson hats stolen from your porch?
$900 for the hats.
Ooh.
Oh, that
Yep.
hurts.
It really does. Yeah.
So what did he do in that situation? Because that would have been like an order that you probably were waiting on for months, right?
We were waiting on those ones for about 6 months. And then those were stolen from our porch. And then we had to wait another 4 months to get more in. And those were actually hats that were meant for the FBI. So they just had to wait a little longer. But let's be honest, it's a government thing. And
Or they
they take that long to pay for something. So
Right. True.
They could have looked into it. I'm just
Right.
saying.
I was gonna say,
you know, I did send them the video and they told me that that's not really their thing. And I'm like, that's okay. I mean, you have some free time occasionally, right?
Yeah. And be like, well, it's not your thing, but those are your hats.
but your hats were stolen.
So if you want them a little quicker, you can help out the situation.
Right.
Just drop them off on the porch again.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And so he helped with the hats, and then he helps with communication with mud gear mostly, and then
Nice.
for the rest of everything. Actually, I forgot to tell Mud Gear that I was going on vacation. Those are my big boots, and they're closing 4 orders while I'm gone. And after they close an order, I ship within 3 days per our contract. And I can't really bring the hat press with me and a bunch of hats, so.
Right.
Andrew will be handling 4 orders for me, and he can totally do the hat press stuff. He's just never dealt with the shipping side of it. So I'll just walk him through it. But
Right. Yeah, I mean the conference last year was the
that's
first
when
time
I started shipping.
So that was the training, and I remember when you needed to print the labels, but I was taking the computer that we were printing. How did we even? I don't remember how we did that.
Don't even remember how we did it.
We did it, but I don't remember how.
Yeah, I don't remember how.
Maybe this computer?
Did we even have it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. It's a blur. But
or I might have taken this one.
Maybe. You might have taken this one and left the other one.
But yeah, so the conference was when my realization was like, oh shit, like you might have to do like my shipping for me and learning that kind of stuff.
And this time we're closed. We shut down.
Yeah, no, I can't. My sister is already just keeping my kids alive. I can't expect her to
run the business too.
Can you pull and ship my orders too while you're at it?
And we're going to show you all of this to you days before we leave.
Right. Well, and then, I mean, with your company, I had really planned to 100% make that yours, but then you had to hire me as your communications manager. Is that what we called me?
For the time being, yes, because I can't answer texts and stuff while I'm at work.
Well, but you also communicate like a man.
Well, I wonder why. I don't know.
Like you'll be
maybe because I'm a guy.
Yes, but you will. That will be something.
I haven't transitioned fully yet.
Oh my god! The letter that we just got from our mortgage company.
Yeah.
Another tangent. We got new insurance with our mortgage, and they only saw my name on it, but his name is on our mortgage loan. He's the main person on our loan. And they said, oh, we received paperwork in Crystal's name, but the loan is in his name. If you've changed names, please provide a social security number and like all this. Like they immediately not went to, oh, this is in your wife's name and the loan is in the husband's name.
Because they're not
if
sure.
You changed your name
from not sure.
From John to Crystal. I mean, you gotta check.
You gotta check with the times.
But anyway, like with communication, you struggle a little bit sometimes. Like with we had to do like the group chats because like someone would say something and like you'd read it and then not respond for a few hours or forget to go back or forget to like follow up or
because I like look into it or something and then get
like, oh yeah, I'm working on it. I'm like, well, they don't know that. So I had to make him hire me to be the communications manager for the time
in
being.
between,
Yeah. Well, and then when you're at work too. I mean,
yeah, because
obviously because there's
I can't answer,
yeah,
and you
8
can
to 10 hours. Yeah.
you can like respond to those while I can't.
Yeah. And I've made some of the reels too. I made some good ones for Tabitha, and I told her I was giving you a run for your money on that.
And you got it back to me in like what 45 seconds. So
And yeah,
Well, it's different
it is.
because
It
you
is.
run it through your phone.
I do.
I have to take it out of my phone, do it, and then put it back into the phone and send it,
and not be at work.
and not be at work.
Yeah.
That really is easy.
Have some entertained kids or kids be sleeping, and
Then you can
I'm
knock
on
it out.
Yeah. All right. Well, for real, we'll let you go
We'll
now.
let you go, and
we'll be
see
back
you
with our updates, but we'll see you
soon.
in a week.
Yeah. See you soon.
All right. And we're back. So life update.
Yeah.
And what an update do we have for you
this week?
First, thank you. We're about to talk to, but thanks to everyone who donated.
Yes.
It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
It was for those who don't know, our neighbor's house caught fire. It was very scary. It was very scary for us.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they went through.
Yeah.
Do you want, you're the one who
so I left to go pick up Jackson just a little bit after 5:30. And the kind of like creepy part of it now is that I smelled it when I left to go get Jackson. But it was a cooler day in Florida. And so I someone they might be barbecuing, they might be a fireplace or
and it was like spring break had just started.
Right. Yeah.
So it could have very easily been like pool party and barbecue.
Right. Yeah. And so I didn't think anything of it, but I did, notice the smell. And, I left to go get him. JR is already on spring break, so he was home, so I didn't have to go get him first. So it was just, to go get Jackson from daycare. And, normal day, go get him, come back, and I see that there is a cop blocking off our street.
Right.
And I'm like, uh-oh, like this isn't good no matter what it is.
Right.
And so I slowly drive past. I see there's a bunch of people like gathering outside. I look down the street, and so our house is literally like smack dab in the middle of the street. And I see 4 fire trucks parked in front of our house.
Yeah.
In front of, those clusters of houses, but in the middle of the street. And I don't remember if I saw smoke or not. I think I did.
You did,
because
when you called me, you told me you couldn't see our house because of the smoke.
Right.
So you weren't sure where it was.
Yeah. And there wasn't anything telling me that it wasn't our house.
Right.
At that point, everything was pointing to it could be your house.
Right. And a little side note, we have a fire hydrant right in front of our house.
Right.
Which is why
part of the reason
that they were it was our neighbor, our direct neighbor, but we have the fire hydrant
literally in our yard.
So that's where they tap into, obviously.
And so, I'm going around to see if I can get closer on the other side. I'm driving down that next street, and I'm trying to call you, and I'm literally just like fuck. Like the kids are in the car. I didn't care. I was like 100% just like complete panic.
Yeah.
And like I was driving on the street behind, which is apartment complexes, so I couldn't see anything because they're a lot taller than our house. Right. But I could see the smoke still. And I'm like, oh my God. And then so I go around, and thankfully they didn't have the other side of the street blocked off completely. And so I got as close as I could, which was probably about, 4 or 5 houses down. And I parked, I left the kids in the car running, locked the car, and just ran. And I was in such a daze that I didn't even realize when I ran up, because I saw the police officer talking to people. I didn't notice that they were talking to our neighbors. And 2, I didn't notice that I was literally standing in front of my house. like because I was right at that line of the police line, the police tape.
Yeah.
And you know, I just like blurted out like, which house is it? And she was like, you know, hold on, because she was obviously in the middle of talking to the actual neighbors whose house was on fire. And then I like stopped for a second and I look over and I see our house untouched.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you know, and I had finally got a hold of you, and I'm like, I mean, I know you said that you could like hear the pure like just panic in my voice.
You called me, you couldn't see the house. You were in the panic. You were trying to get as close as you could when we were on the phone.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, let's hang up.
Right.
So that
you were gonna call
being that I work in the news, I was gonna call my assignment desk and see if they're hearing anything over the scanners of like an address that police and fire are being sent to in the area. So I hung up with you. I called them. I'm like, are you hearing anything in the scanners? And at first they said no. But like they said no because they hadn't heard it. But she was like looking in the you know, through the log, and then she's like, oh yeah, here it is. And then she gave me the address. Right. And it was like
it was on the wrong side.
It was one off from our address. And I had to double check. Wait, I'm like, are you sure you're saying this and not this? Because I'm this one. Right. Are you sure that's what's on there? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay. So then I call you. Yeah. And then we simultaneously say, it's the neighbors. Yeah. And then it's a creepy, and it's so. Yeah. It was in one half. In one half, you feel relieved. Yeah. And then you're immediately hit with, but it's the neighbor's
but it's
house.
Still someone's house.
Yeah. 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 And it's someone who
it's not mine,
knew.
But it's still like.
Yeah.
Still,
it's
someone's.
Like, we're okay. Thank God. Oh wait, but they aren't.
Right.
You know. So it's Yeah.
And so then it was just like, okay, and then it's like, is it contained? Can it come over to? Because you know the houses are really, really close,
and we have a tree in between our two houses, so it's like
Piggy's in the backyard.
Well, Piggy was on, luckily Piggy's on the other side of the house.
Side, so she wasn't really affected.
And when they told me, you know, it was one off, I'm like, oh man, it's the neighbors. I immediately thought of the one on Piggy's side because they also had work.
The address wrong too.
No, it was the right address.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. But I had seen when I left for work, I had seen that they were like doing work to their house. So that's who I thought it was. Right. And then I was like, oh no, like, you know, how close, what side of the house did it start on? Because Piggy's over there and this and that. And then when I looked on the map and came, I realized, oh, it's the other neighbors. Right. And I'm like, oh, well, we have a tree right there. Right. What side of their house? You know, because I mean, it can jump so quick. Right. Yeah.
So and then you know I was able to calm down a little bit. You know, I was still very, very frazzled and still it's still very fresh. Yeah. And then so we, you know, it was already like 6:30, I think, at this point, after all the things kind of like simmered down a little bit, and I knew it was going to be quite a while before we could even get like anywhere near the house. Right. And so I went to Burger King. To go, you know, get them food. The boys, yeah. And you know, they ate in the car. Initially I was gonna go inside, and I'm like, I can't. Like I have to go back, and I need to be as close as I can, just like, you know, there, so I know that like things are okay. Because like going inside, I'm gonna like wonder, like, is it contained? Did it jump? Is Piggy okay? Like, you know, all those things. And so, you know, I went back. And then thankfully, you know, things were starting to calm down. One of the neighbors that we actually met at one of our garage sales prepping for the studio, I pulled in front of, you know, her street, and she let me park in the grass and, you know, leave my car there because we were going to see if like, you know, the police would let us into our home at that point, or, you know, soon after. And I was just standing there talking, you ended up, leaving work and your assignment to come, like, I mean, I was check on everything.
I couldn't focus. I mean, you could imagine how can I focus? I was assigned to the World Baseball Classic, so it was like a, you know, like a fun type story. Yeah. And
you're just like, wondering if your house and family is okay.
Right. How could I focus when like, because at the time it was like, okay, they said it wasn't our address, but I mean, it's right. One is right next door. Two, we get addresses wrong all the time. So I was like, I don't like I couldn't focus because I was
Yeah.
worried about you. I was worried about the boys. I was worried about
Right.
our house.
Yeah.
I was worried about the future we're planning and we're
Right.
building for. And all of that can go up, you know, like literally
In flames.
it could go up in a split second. If
Yeah.
it's our house, it's all over. It's all
Right.
done.
Yeah.
You know, and we got to start from scratch. So it's
Right.
yeah, it was hard to focus. So I just called my boss. I'm like, hey, listen, this is what's going on. I could hear it in his voice. He was like,
Yeah.
what? Like, you know,
Yeah.
go take care of what you got to take care of.
Right.
So I came home. I was of course, with traffic in midday.
Yeah.
I was an hour away.
Yeah. But you made it there right in time because it was right when I was trying to unload the kids again, like a couple houses away. And so I had like all the Burger King and the leftover food and like their backpacks and, you know, trying to get them both out and then walk across the street safely and all that. And so I was just starting to like unload everything and you pulled up right at that time. But prior to that, one thing that really, really stuck out to me was, you know, I was standing there talking to the neighbor, you know, kind of like telling her like, you know, what I just told everybody here of like my experience of the events, you know, and one of the granddaughters that was in the home while, you know, it was on fire and they, you know, ended up having to escape. I didn't know it at the time, but she walked up to me, didn't say a thing, handed me a water bottle, smiled, and then walked away.
Right.
And I look at my neighbor and I go, "Who's that?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I'm like,
yeah, it wasn't until we looked at our video.
Then we were looking at the cameras because, you know, we have the camera in front of our house. And so we were kind of seeing like how it all unfolded, like while I was gone. And I saw the girl in the hoodie.
You're like, that's the girl who gave me the water.
I was like, wait, that's the girl that gave me the water. Like, and I was just like, I was amazed that they they handled it so well. I'm sure they had their moments. I know they had their moments, but even afterwards, like I was panicked and I calmed down once I knew it wasn't my house, but then I saw it was them and they weren't, you know, talking to the police officers at the time. And I'm like, are you guys okay? Like, you know, I asked them, you know, how they're doing. You know, I said, you know, I'm so sorry that this happened. And they were just, and he was like, you know, what he was like, what can we do? He was like, you know, we're okay. And that's what matters. Yeah. And, you know, just the way they handled it, like even experiencing that, I don't think that I could ever handle something like that well. They just, I didn't see them cry once. Yeah. Like, not that it didn't happen, but like
the closest that Jackie, the grandmother, the closest she got was when we told her about the donations. Yeah. That after we posted, you guys donated.
We raised almost $2,000. I think it was $1,900 something, and like after possibly fees and stuff.
Not to talk future tense, possibly more by the time this comes out.
Yeah, and she, you know, and I told her, you know, so initially I put it on my Venmo because I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to set up a GoFundMe if like anyone in their family already was going to, or they were going to, because, you know, it's easier if they set it up because then you don't have to worry about transferring funds and all that stuff. So I kind of wanted to see if anybody else was going to set one up. So I just shared it on all of my pages, my 4 Instagrams and Facebooks, and in our podcast group. And I just put my Venmo out there, and I'm like, if you can share something, great. If not, like, no worries. But then, you know, I got a little bit before bed, I think maybe $50 to $150 before bed. And then I woke up to $400 that next day. And it ended up, I think I got close to $600 on Venmo, and then another 13 or 14 on GoFundMe once I set that up. And, you know, I told them in the morning, first, that night, you know, my anxiety, I don't walk up to, I don't know them well. You've met the male who lived there. Daniel. You've talked to him a couple times here and there. And I would just see him and like, we'd smile at each other. And that was like literally our relationship up until this point. So it's not like we've ever really been close to them at all either, but just how close to home it hit me. And, you know, it's 4 people and animals that were displaced. It really was like getting to me. Right. And I remember, you know, talking to you, and they were still standing outside.
The survivor's guilt of
major.
it wasn't our house.
Oh, major. And so I walked up to them, outside, and I was just kind of checking on them, just seeing if they needed anything. And that's not like me at all.
No.
I don't walk up to people that I
No,
don't know.
That's my job.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what, hold on. And I ran in the house, and I still had a $50 bill that your mom had given me for Christmas. And I ran in, and I got, the boys were sleeping. I ran in, I got that, and I brought it back out. And, Jackie didn't want to take it from me. And I'm like,
Right.
you need to take this. Like, this
Right.
is the least that I can do. And, I gave her that $50. I told them that I was going to try and post. And, you never know, if people are going to see it. Because
Right.
it's like sometimes everyone sees that, and the money comes flooding in. And then
Right.
other times the algorithm is like, not today.
Yeah.
And they don't see it
Well,
at all,
also
or you
timing.
get $25.
And also the time of it, because it was
Exactly.
it was later at
It was
night.
super late at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then I walked back, and then I what did I tell you? I wanted to go back over.
Oh, to get their information.
To get their information so that
Get a
I could
phone
get a
number or
phone number or something. Because that
Yeah.
was the thing. It was like, okay, I'm going to post this, but they don't have a home to come back to
Right.
anymore.
Can't go
So
knock
if
on
I
their
get
door and
this
say,
money,
hey.
how am I going to get it to them?
Right.
So I needed their information in order to fulfill what I wanted to do as far as raising some money for them.
Right.
And you were like, oh, you gave me a couple excuses, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and again, my anxiety was taking over. Of
Like,
like,
or
I
just
could go
blame
over
me.
there once, but going over there
Yeah.
twice felt awkward. I didn't want to be the nosy neighbor.
Right.
I wanted to actually help them, but I wanted to make sure that it came across that way.
Right. And then they wanted it too.
Right.
Because some people are.
Right.
And I mean, they're very proud. They didn't.
Yeah.
When.
No, they didn't.
When. Kind of jumping a little bit ahead, but when we after you told her about the money,
and
like, can we set up a GoFundMe for
right.
you? She didn't say no,
right,
because she knew that it would help,
right,
but she
didn't want to say yes.
She didn't have
either.
the
Right.
like, her pride wouldn't let her say yes.
Right.
Please set it up.
And I understand that too, because I'm the same way.
Yeah, 100%.
And because I remember telling her, I'm like, you can tell me no, and she
Right.
didn't say no.
And she
so
didn't,
that was
you
enough.
gave her the opportunity to say no,
right?
And she's like,
right.
We kind
that's
of need it, but it's hard
right.
to say yes.
Yeah, so that was enough for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used you as the excuse. You're like, use me as the excuse. Say that I want it. JR is on.
Yeah. He's done that already. Just keep going.
Anyway, it's spring break. But yeah, so I went back over. I got, because at first I just gave them my number.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, now I'm expecting them to use it, which
Right.
they probably won't.
Right.
They probably won't reach out to me if they need something. And so I wanted to, again, be able to get a hold of them if I was able to raise some money, to get it back to them, to check on them, to make sure that they were okay. And then it kind of just, it snowballed. And now it's just like, it's almost like another family member, she's we talked to the next morning. I went over there. I wanted to let them know how much money, was raised just overnight. So if they needed it or whatever for a hotel, or just so they didn't have to worry about it.
Right.
And Daniel, he walked me through their house. And the crazy part was, so that night before, I didn't go in the house at all. I just stood outside and I talked to them for about 30 minutes. The smell on my shirt, I was not expecting how much that smell would, like, I guess it's called off-gassing or whatever, how much it was still like permeating everything, even though it wasn't like the fire was out.
Yeah, no smoke.
There was no smoke.
Yeah,
but the smell was so strong.
Yeah.
It was just like in all of my clothes. It was in my hair. And then we went over the next day and I actually went in the home, and it was even stronger. JR, get down.
All the way down.
Literally standing on the back of the couch. But anyway, so I went over and he showed me, and it was just like, and if you've ever experienced a house fire, you know that what the fire doesn't ruin, smoke and water ruins the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So fire may not have even touched your items,
right,
but the smoke and the water and the smell does the rest.
Yep.
And everything was ruined almost. I think there's, they were able to take They filled like a U-Haul, and I think they're able to take like a good portion of their clothes and that kind of stuff. And then you just hope that you can get that smell out.
Right.
And I'm sure it might even take like a couple washes. I don't know. But like it just really, really hit me like how they lost everything in a second.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to at least try to help, whether it'd be successful or not.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but it was just like, this could be any of us. And I kept telling Jackie that,
Yeah.
and she's like, you know, you don't even know us, and you're doing all of this for us, and we really don't know you. I'd never even spoke to Jackie
Right.
before
Yeah.
the house fire.
The only time, so I've spoken to Daniel
Mhm.
outside in passing.
Right.
And the only interactions I've had with her has been for either our packages delivered to her house,
Right.
or one time I needed them to move the vehicle because it was on our like on our side,
and she answered the door.
answered the door.
Yeah.
And the girls I talked to again about packages in the past, but
right.
that's it. The only one I really talked to was Daniel.
Yeah.
I mean our, you know, and every time we saw each other, we said hi. So it really, and it's funny how in this instance, so in regular passing, I can say hi, I can talk to you, have a conversation. But in this instant, you went over and said hi. When I came back home from work, they were still outside. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
So I didn't even go over there.
Right.
Like I couldn't, hey, how's it going? I like, you know, it's like I don't, sorry. Like, you know, it's like, I had no words. So I just came inside the house. I was like, well, you talked to them already and this and that, that's on our behalf. I'm just going to come home and because I had no words. I had no words for them.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, and just something that really stuck out to me when we, you know, I was going to go over and I was like, do you want to come with me? I felt you know, more comfortable with you going with me. And we talked to Daniel, and he was just like, I mean, he's a preacher. Yeah. And he was like preaching to us, and he was just looking so positive.
He was looking for the lesson.
Yeah. They kept like and even the day it happened, Jackie even told me everything happens for a reason. And I'm like, how can you think that in this moment? Like, impressive, but like I was so like taken back by how well they were handling all of it. And you know, Daniel said to us at one point, he was like, you know, these situations they'll always happen. Mm-hmm. Things will always happen to you. Right. But misery is a choice. Yeah. You choose how you respond to a situation.
He was like, everyone always says, why me?
Right.
You know, like, why did this happen to me?
Right. You can't focus on that. You have to.
No, he was like, there's a lesson. He's like, I didn't know about, he's like, I had no idea about renter's insurance.
Really?
I won't. Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Oh, wow.
Because he has a heavy Jamaican accent.
Yeah, it's hard to.
So he was like, he had no idea what renter's insurance was.
Right.
Until, you know, then. And he's like, I won't make that mistake again.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's just hard, and it is impressive. And I mean, I guess you have to, lean on your faith when something like that happens, and like just know that was, because he was saying this wasn't an accident. This was supposed to happen. Right. Because it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, man, and he walked in, you know, and he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, how am I doing? Who cares how I'm doing? Yeah. You know, how are you guys handling? Like I'm not here to like chit chat. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how's it, you know, but yeah, he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm okay. How are you handling things? Right. Man? Like, how are you guys feeling and this and that? And he's like, you know, we're alive.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just how you said that, like it always surprises you in those situations who's there and who's not there.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
And he was like, you know, there's people that you expect to be there in these situations that aren't. Mm-hmm. And then there's people like us, they were saying that you don't expect to be there and are. Yeah. You know, because there actually was another neighbor that they kind of expected like a check-in and didn't get it, and were shocked by it. Right. And so, you know, I'm glad that we were able to be the shock on the other side of being able to be there to help. And she told me a million times, you know, I don't know how to thank you. And I'm like, you don't need to. Yeah. Thank you is enough. Like, I didn't do this for any kind of anything in return except to
help you.
To like get out this extreme desire to fix it. I wanted
Right.
to fix it because
Yeah.
it just,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, it's probably a longer than normal
Yep.
life update, but
Yeah.
like it's been a really long week. It's, you know,
Yeah.
it's spring break, the kids home. I'm not getting as much as I would love to get done. I've actually been feeling decent, but I couldn't even like focus on that because it was just, you
Yeah.
know, and prepping for the conference. There's way less prepping happening because I was just, when I wasn't doing something to like help them or posting about it, I was literally just kind of like sitting there thinking because
Right.
I was just so overwhelmed
Yeah.
with everything that had
Contains.
kind of just been
Mhm.
going on. And yeah, I'm just glad that, you know, they're okay. They did lose 2 animals, one of them actually in the fire, probably due to the smoke, and then one of the other ones ran away in all of the
Yeah, and hasn't come
commotion
back.
and hasn't come back. So you know, that definitely is a sad
Mhm.
product of the fire and obviously all of the things that they lost. But and in it, you know, we made a new relationship with someone
Yeah.
that we didn't even have really, and they were literally right next door to us.
Mhm.
And you know, I told her, she's like, "Yeah, we have to get together at some point." I'm like, "Yeah, you know, whenever you get your new place and you're settled, like
Right.
we'd love to come over." And she's like, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to cook for you." And I was like, "You know, we'd love that, you know."
Yeah.
So it's how she shows her love and appreciation, and
Yeah.
you know, just that we were able to be there. And because, you know, I kept telling her, she's like, she kept saying she didn't understand why we were helping so much because we don't know them.
Right.
And I'm like, because it could have been us.
Well, and because I mean, we're neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of that storm that we ended up leaving
Right.
that time,
Yeah.
and behind our house, I think I was outside and we heard crackling or whatever.
Oh, right.
And then we saw a tree fall on the lines.
On the, yeah.
And then like it sparked.
Yeah.
So I ran over and
told
knocked on the
neighbor.
door,
Yeah.
like, hey, you know, check your backyard. There could be a fire back there or
Right.
whatever. Like I didn't know. And this was like houses down. I had never talked to them.
Right.
And I knocked on their door and they're like, what? I'm like, is your backyard okay?
Right.
And they were shocked. They were surprised. They're like, what do you mean? Like, well, a tree just, I was in my backyard and I saw the tree fall on the line and there could be a fire back there.
Right.
I just wanted to see if you guys were okay. And they were like taken back that, you know, like that would happen. And it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we all live on the same neighbor. Like, you know, we're neighbors.
Right.
I mean, I don't know you. Maybe I just wave at you or something. But if I see something happen, like new neighbors, remember they had like the candle, they had like something, they had something. Oh no, I don't think I told you. Did I tell you?
Yeah, no, in the window.
In the window.
Yeah,
it looked like their living room was on fire.
Yeah.
It looked like they had a sheet and there was a fire behind the sheet because of the way like it was moving. And I went up, like I literally was like on their sidewalk. And then I'm like, I think that's just like a candle flickering.
Uh-huh.
And then I walked back, but just kind of like watching.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened. But like, I mean, you have to look out for one another.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I told her. I'm like, you know, because I would hope that someone would do the same thing for us in this situation.
Yeah.
And we can't expect them to do that. You know, they're worried about where they're going to sleep that night. I mean, the first night, because of their dogs, they all slept in their cars because they couldn't take the dogs into the hotel. And I'm like, if you need to leave them with us so that you guys can get at least one night's rest, like we'll, you know, let us help you. So yeah, it just, I would hope that we would have the same, you know, if something happened to us. So yeah, it was just, I had to help. And I'm just, I'll continually be checking on them and make sure they're good and just hope for the best. But yeah, make sure you have insurance.
Yeah, make sure you have insurance.
We immediately made sure that ours was good. And
can't say enough. Thank you guys to those who donated.
Yes.
And
man, one of my friends donated $1,000.
Or who just shared the GoFundMe or shared the story. I mean, you know, sometimes like we say, if you can't support monetarily, you can share their posts,
like, comment,
because that goes a long way. Because maybe someone you know can and will, and you know, the only way that connection would have been made is if you hadn't shared. So
and the GoFundMe is still posted in the podcast group. So, if you decide that this is something that you want to help out with, by all means, it's there. If you don't, obviously, there's no hard feelings. I get that.
I mean,
and that was the other thing too.
Facing
exactly. We're all
hard
kind of
times.
struggling a little bit more than we probably planned. And, I understand that not everybody has that because you got to take care of your own before. So if you have it, great. If not, no worries. But
you got to put your mask on before you can help somebody else. Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you guys. Say hi to a neighbor.
Yes.
If you don't know your neighbors, if you don't know your neighbors, just say hi next time you see them out there.
Yep.
Even if it's just a wave.
Right.
And it's been another great Rally Black project. Chris and John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done.